Hey everybody, how's it going today? It's a little crazy in my life, but here I am making tofu with you. So hopefully it's gonna go well. I've got a few little ingredients here going on, and Cheryl is also trying to go live on Instagram. Is it live?
You're now live.
Hey everybody, so what we're gonna make today is Sesame Citrus Tofu from the new ebook collaboration, Vegan for Everybody. And I'm super excited about that. And also, Nichole Dandrea-Russert is probably going to come on live if she can. So that will be another level of excitement for all of us. So one of the things, first thing I have to do, it's very simple, this recipe. What interested me about it is there's like orange and lime and miso. We're going to be kind of putting in this beautiful sauce, and I think it's going to be really delicious and really easy, which I need because y'all, I got my shingles shot 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It was not nice. So yesterday I was in bed most of the day. Oh, thank you. It is not new. I think it may be my second one of these. It's zombie candy corn against candy corn villagers. So, you know, sometimes I have to live my best life. Oh, Linda's here. That's so awesome. And Jennifer. Oh, Jennifer's already got the ebook. Well, good on you. So the ebook is only available through the end of Monday. So it's only available from September 20th to September 25th. And I'm not going to be printing out the recipe for you. If you can follow along, great. But the ebook is $9.99. I'm going to forget all the things right now. There are over 40 recipes and I think over 20 bloggers slash influencers slash content creators, however anybody identifies. Oh, hey, how are you? And Lydia's here. And Amy, you know, I will say Nichole is the best because I just talked to her. I was like, so, hey, I'm going to make your recipe and make it oil-free. Can you promise not to hate me? And she was like so in on it. It was pretty awesome, actually. And hey, Apple and Donna. Vanita's here. Real, and I have not gotten back to you, but I did see your question. The book is a PDF. And Real, you said that text readers for people who are visually impaired do not work well with PDFs. And what I'm going to do actually is I have 2 books. I try to do both. And I was curious if I send them to you, if you could tell me how they work on your e-reader, because that would be everything. And for your trouble, you can have a Halloween ebook and a Ninja Creamy ebook, which means nothing to you. So maybe the Halloween book, we could do a trade. Oh, and Linda says to Amy that she loves all the recipes and ebooks she creates. That's awesome. Hey, Boston Vegan Bean, that is one cute dog in your picture. And those of you on Instagram, I don't even know if you can see me. Hello, I'm over here talking to the other people, but I thought I'd try to go live to everybody. All right, so first thing I have to do, oh, there's another thing I wanted to tell you. I'm combining all the things. So I got a new knife and I'm very excited. And it isn't the Kano. I'll let you see. There you go. So it's a Japanese knife. I've already taken it out of some of this and cleaned it, which I would always recommend of anything that you get in the mail. The mail is nasty, y'all. And I'll show it over here. And so the first thing we need to do is get stuff together into a little blender. Hey, Cindy, how are you? Apple says Instagram too. I'm going to double watch. You just live that life, and that way you can go a little to the left. Cheryl's holding the phone and the tripod. Oh, and Electric says, just wanted to pop in and say I would like to see a Cooking with Cheryl segment because I'm more her level. We're actually planning on doing that. So we've been traveling a lot. So that's not happening, but soon, perhaps even next week, we will do one thing where she's cooking and I'm helping out of some of our friends' cookbooks and some of my cookbooks. And so don't worry. And if there's something, if you're a new cook and there's something you really want to know, or you're like, what does she mean by that? Please ask, because I like to explain the minutia of things even. Not always fun for everybody else, but oh, and Lydia's going to get the ebook. Excellent. Okay, good, Real. I'm sorry I misunderstood. To clarify, text PDFs work well. It's often the fonts and the tech placement around pictures that messes things up. And the pictures are there's like some stuff at the top, then a break. A picture is to the left and more stuff to the right. So I don't know if the formatting will mess this up. I could also export one of my recipes as a PDF out of here, and we could look at that in there and see how it works. Okay, so I'm using my very sharp knife, so I'm trying to be careful. Here we go.
This is a non-Cheryl approved knife. Like, I can't ever use this knife.
She can't. Well, the thing is sharp knives in a lot of ways are safer, right? But Cheryl and I both have a really great history of actually cutting ourselves when we're washing knives. So, and I can show you later how I cut my oranges for us to eat, which I feel like is a super easy way. I don't take the peel off very often. So if you guys have like a cool way to do it, then I'm not doing it. I'm just trying to get off as much of the pith or the white part. That tends to be a little bit bitter. Now, that's not always a bad thing either. And these oranges, I don't think had very many seeds, but we're going to get all the seeds out as well. Oh, everybody's looking forward to Cheryl cooking.
Be careful what you wish for.
Could you guys hear Cheryl say, be careful what you wish for? I know everybody on Instagram heard that. Okay, and I'm going to get this guy off there. All right, so let's go ahead. And usually what I do is I cut an orange like this anyhow. With the peel on it, this is how I cut our snacking oranges. So I just basically cut the orange in half. Imagine there's peel there. And I come through like this so I can get this part off and just toss it away. See? You can do it however you want to because it's your orange and it's none of my business. But if you have someone who doesn't like to eat oranges, like Cheryl used to be that way, and see, I'm not seeing any seeds in here, so I think we're golden. I'm going to set this aside. So we're just going to toss that. And if I had, if there were seeds in here, I would need to remove them. You will know, you know what else I'm going to do? Always when you're working with a nice knife, if you're going to move things off of the cutting board, use that back non-sharp part. Let me see if we can get any extra juice off of here. Yes, I know it was like 3 drops. Probably 3 drops in there and 3 drops on the counter. Okay, let me put these in the trash. Possibly. If you guys saw all the juggling that was going on over here, you would be very impressed. All right. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is about 2 tablespoons of, it said reduce sodium tamari or coconut aminos. Let me see if I have any coconut aminos. That's coconut vinegar. Oh, coconut aminos. So since we're trying to already make this a little more whole food plant-based, no oil, we'll use the lower sodium, because sometimes people are also SOS, or salt, oil, and sugar-free. I'm just like, how did I get coconut aminos all over me that fast? Lasai. Now, if you are SOS or SOFAS free, this still isn't going to work for you. But what you could do is maybe, the one thing I'm using right now is California Balsamics teriyaki vinegar, but it's a ginger garlic balsamic. I would not put 2 tablespoons in here. I would start with a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon and see how that works out. Okay, so we've got 2 tablespoons of that, and I'm just going to check over here and make sure that we don't have a visitor waiting. Nope. Okay. And let me see what we've got. Aww. And Lydia's looking forward to us cooking together. There will be bickering. It will be like reality TV right here. Amy says, thanks everybody for purchasing the ebook. Amy is the person who put the whole project together and who kind of owns the project. And it's true. Everything, almost everything, can be made oil-free pretty easily. And so one of the things that I'm going to do too, the plan is every day through Monday I'm going to do a new recipe, so you guys can get an idea, and those swaps will probably work pretty well throughout the book. Oh, and Debbie said that's how I cut a grapefruit. Excellent. Hey, Maryland. All right, so we want 2 tablespoons of shallots roughly diced, but guess what we're going to use? Dun, da, da, dum, lazy person's onion powder. Woo! There's your onion powder. So I'm going to put about a half a teaspoon in there. Why? Because I don't have fancy shallots, and I don't want to cut up that much, just 2 tablespoons of onion. We're going to do 2 teaspoons of lime juice. And so what I do, can you see this there too? Okay. Okay, no. I'm just asking you, can you see? Let me wipe this off. All the juices that I have spilled everywhere. Okay, so when you're juicing a citrus fruit, you really get to take out your frustration. Some feel a little frustrated. So hit it and roll it with your palm really firmly. Hit it, roll it with your palm. And what happens is you really, really can feel those like little nodules, like the orange part in here. What happens when you hit it is that breaks open and it juices out. And it allows you to get much more juice per citrus fruit. The other smart way to do it is this way and actually use the citrus. Okay, so I'm going to take my Nakano knife. I'm going to put it in half. I am not going to measure this because I am that way. I think this will, 1/2 should be around 2 teaspoons. Anyhow, it might go up to a tablespoon. This is a citrus reamer, and all that does is help you go in there. You could use a tablespoon. You could use the back of a big spoon. This just helps it come out more efficiently. So see, and then I can push down and twist. And this isn't my recipe, but if you're making one of my recipes, make it to taste. Are you like queen of the limes? Then add more lime. If you're like I wish it had more salt. Maybe put a little extra soy sauce in there, tamari. And if you can't use any of the soy sauces or anything like that, then make sure that you kind of taste it and see what happens. You know, taste it, add 1/2 teaspoon of that balsamic. This is just an organic miso, a red miso that I got at the Asian market. Okay.
Quick question, is Purely Planted who you're waiting on?
Yes.
She's on Instagram.
She needs to click the Purely Planted. You need to go onto your phone and click the link that I sent you on Instagram, and that way I can bring you into eCam Live. I'm not just going live on Instagram. Anybody else excited by this? So, oh good, it's a nice camera angle on Instagram. Thanks, Apple. And Amy says that they appreciate me, and my superpower is coming up with easy modifications and substitutions. I was very poor for a very long time, and that makes it a lot easier. Okay, we want 1 teaspoon. Let me get a tiny spatula. And she's saying to use white miso or chickpea miso. So if you're like, I can't have miso because I'm allergic to soy, then get the chickpea miso. It doesn't have any soy. And basically, miso just has this wonderful kind of funk, this umami darkness that really adds these complex layering of flavors to a simple dish like this. Oh, there is a difference between white miso and red miso, and I forget how it's. Let's see if this gives me any clues. This has ricing. They both have koji culture, but basically the lighter to the darker is milder to not milder. If that makes it milder to stronger would be another way to put that. Is she doing okay?
She hasn't responded.
Okay.
I was going to try to type in.
All right, let me come back over here in the interview window. She is not here yet, but that's okay. We're hanging out. We're having a good time. Yeah, Amy says to me the red tastes stronger than the white. Absolutely. I find this is organic, AKA miso, organic ranch, AKA miso. And I feel like this one's from, what is MD? Maryland. And now I just feel like a big American goober. I don't even know my own state abbreviation. Maryland. But this one to me tastes pretty mild. But yeah, and sweeter. That's a really good one. Yeah, white miso tastes a little bit sweeter. And I like all the umamis. Okay, and so it calls for a 1/4 teaspoon roasted sesame oil. Obviously that's added oil. Now it's also not very much. So if you are doing like Cheryl and I, we do McDougall regular program 90% of the time. So if we hadn't had any treats this week, I would add that 1/4 teaspoon of sesame oil. Those of you who don't want to add any added oil, you have 2 options. One is you could do a 1/4 teaspoon of sesame tahini. So that's just ground up sesame seeds. So that would be one way. The other way, which is what I'm choosing today, is going to be putting more sesame seeds on the outside, because that's what I feel like. Okay, let's see. Now since it's just a 1/4 teaspoon, it should not affect the blendability of this mixture. I'll let them see the close-up of the mixture. I'll let you guys see a close-up of the mixture. There's not much in there. Okay. So this is...
She says she's in the waiting room.
Okay, is she in the waiting room now? Let's find out. She is not. Is it, Ecam is not here. Tell her to go out and come back in because she's not showing up in my waiting room. Let me check one more thing. This is the first time I've had someone come in live this way. Nope, and all that's all the way up. I should hear. Okay, so we're going to blend this. And I also don't have any green onions, and Cheryl hates them. So I have some garlic chives I thought I'd put on as garnish. And really, this whole thing would take you about 5 seconds. You don't have to tell the people what you're making for them. Now, of course, I'm only reading this now. This is supposed to marinate in the marinade, but I think we're going to bake it in the marinade instead to save some time. And I still don't. So I have been pressing my tofu for a whole hour, I think. And I'll show you. This is the tofu press that I have. Okay. And so basically, here's our marinade, and I'll find something to put this in. Okay, it has a spring, so I just push it down, and then it'll pop up real quick. Okay, and you could also do this overnight. We could also just marinate it. I'm not seeing her. Okay, and we are going to cut this in lengthwise into 8 strips. So usually what I do is I try to cut it in half, cut each half in half for the closest proximity of whatever we're looking at. And actually, I can answer some questions, and we can let everything we can let the marinade soak on it for a little bit. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour a little bit of marinade in the bottom. Okay, we're just covering the bottom of that. And then I'm going to see if I can do this like I'm thinking of it in my mind's eye. And that does not always work well for me. And plop slash, ooh, that worked better than in my mind's eye, y'all. Okay, I'm just going to cover the top with some of this. And there's a little bit left over. I'm going to keep that anyhow. Okay.
She says it still says waiting for host. Like in a green room type thing.
Yeah, but usually I see her if she's in the green room. And this is the green room. Let me go into Instagram. Well, this can be one of the things we do while we're spending time letting our tofu marinate. Let me come over here.
She said, love that you put some on the bottom first.
Oh, good. She said she loved that I put some on the bottom. I'm just trying to speed this puppy up. Okay, here we go. And I'm looking for messages. I'm going to give her another, I think that's the same one that I gave you earlier. 5EF92. 5EF92. Yep. All right. So we'll see what happens there. So what questions? What do you guys? Oh, yay! All right, so now you're really in the green room where I can see you. So let me see how I'm used to having this all set up in an interview way. So now, where is it? There's a thing here. Here we go. Add to the right. We're both here.
Yay! Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why it was not working. I'm
Obviously,
so
it wasn't
sorry.
your fault, so don't worry about it at all.
But I loved watching you cook on Instagram. It was fun.
Usually, I don't go live on Instagram, so I think it was kind of good. And obviously, had I been paying really good attention, I would have noticed I should have marinated this for a while. But I thought 20 minutes, we got time to talk. And
Yeah.
so I don't know what if you saw, I did go get some coconut aminos. I lived my best life and just juiced half a lime instead of trying to messily measure it. And I did use my red miso, but this red miso is very mild. And see, the funkier the better. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us all about you. If you guys, depending if you're watching on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, her information is around for you to go follow her as well.
Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, sorry, that I wasn't able. Can you hear me okay?
You're great.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't able to log in initially and had everybody waiting, including you all. But like I said, it's been fun watching you. I'm learning from you too, like those tricks to make things a little bit more simple. Sometimes I tend to complicate things. I'm Nichole Dandrea-Russert. Thanks for having me on today, Kathy, and thanks for making the Sesame Citrus Tofu recipe. I have to add a disclaimer. I'm at a conference in Philadelphia right now, a nutrition conference, so you might see
Ooh.
bodies walking behind me. I found it like a hallway spot to log in here. So, yeah. So thanks for having me. I included this recipe in the Vegan for Everyone cookbook because one of the most common questions. My background's dietitian, plant-based dietitian, and one of the most common questions I get from folks is, "How do I make tofu? What do I do with it?" And I just, it's just one of the basics, I think, that you learn, once you start getting curious about plant-based eating, you want to investigate the world of tofu or other soy products like tempeh. So I just wanted to include a simple recipe that is kind of left up to the recipe creator and what they want to do with it. But the tofu itself is like marinate, as you're demonstrating here, Kathy, and marinate it. If you marinate it for a few minutes, that's fine. But if you could do it overnight, then the tofu can soak up even more flavors, and then baking it. And it can be as simple as that. And then from there, obviously that in itself is not a full meal, but there are options where you can make a sandwich out of it. So if you like slaw, you can do tofu with like some kind of nice vinaigrette slaw and make a sandwich out of it. You can add it on top of a grain bowl. You can include it over a bed of rice with your favorite steamed veggie. And as you mentioned, you had some extra marinade left over, drizzle the extra marinade over top. So there's lots of things you can do once you have that tofu made. But the goal was just to present an easy way to make tofu. And you don't even have to, once you get this process down, it's not about using, you can really use any marinade that you love, but at least getting like that basic tofu baking method down to get it to the texture that you like. And speaking of that, you were mentioning, Kathy, that, you suggest to your folks that they can do what they feel comfortable with. I really feel that recipes are meant to be a guide. So if you want to substitute soy sauce or coconut aminos or use tamari, like whichever works for you, whatever you have on hand. As I mentioned, if you want to use a different marinade, and the baking temperatures of ovens can vary so much, as you know. So maybe you need less time in the oven, maybe you need a little more time. And depending on how firm you like the tofu, you can cook it a little longer. So really just kind of making the recipe your own.
I love that because I'm also going to use my air fryer to do it, and I'm going to show that way as well.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, and making it an even more efficient process compared to the, conventional oven. Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And you asked about my background, and just to introduce my folks or to myself to folks a little bit more. As I mentioned, my background is plant-based dietitian. I've been fully plant-based for 13 years and vegan, went vegan for the planet and for animals in 2013. And as a dietitian, when I went vegan, I, honestly didn't know the wonderful world of plants and how much you can do with them, because that's not how I was trained. And so it really took me like a while to investigate and dive into the world of plants and discover like so many wonderful things that plants can do. And then also the dietitian in me had to research, is this the healthiest thing to do for humans and the planet? And I was just blown away by all of the research that supported plant-based eating. So so the journey continued, but investing in some good cookbooks was my first step to getting into the plant-based world. And that's really what helped to guide my own journey. And how do I combine ingredients? How do I cook tofu? How do I, it's all the questions were answered through experimentation and learning from others, and having fun with a variety of cookbooks.
I love that. So we have a question from TS, and so I want to read. For the recipe, you say a package of tofu, it can be firm, extra firm, or super firm, which is my personal favorite of tofu, because you don't actually have to press it. It's just like, and sometimes it'll say high protein, just because it has less water, not because they've added some mystery powders to it. So Tia says, does it matter which texture of tofu accepts the marinade better, like soft compared to firm?
Oh, that's a really great question. In my experience, depending on the texture that you want, you can press firm or extra firm tofu. As you mentioned, Kathy, you don't have to press the super firm tofu because it already has the water that has been mostly removed from it, so it's making it denser in protein. I think because of that reason, in my experience, and Kathy, tell me if you agree, I feel like the firm or extra firm might absorb a little bit, so a little more porous to absorb some of those flavors. But then if you're pressing all the water out, it makes it less porous. So, it just really depends. I think for me, it's more of a texture thing, and also because it's not that extra step, you don't have to press it. If you do like a firm texture with the super tofu, the higher protein tofu, you don't have to press it. So I think from a convenience perspective, it's great. But for me, I feel like it absorbs a little bit less flavor. I don't know. What's your experience with that, Kathy?
I totally agree with you. I think it does. I tend to put the flavors on the outsides for that. So let's say if I only had super firm tofu, I probably would still make this sauce. What I would do is then I would probably cut in cubes the super firm tofu, and you could do this with pressed tofu as well. I will put it on parchment paper in the air fryer, 5 minutes, shake it up really good, 5 more minutes. You can skip the parchment paper, but you are going to have to clean your grates. So you do what means the most to you, and mine is not cleaning the grates. And then what I would do is make the sauce, and I might even, traditionally in the past, I've added a little bit of organic cornstarch to thicken it up. And then I might steam some broccoli, maybe some snap peas or something like that, and then put it together like kind of like a stir fry style dish, since obviously I'm not stir frying. But I do feel like, so what happens and why it's such a great texture, because it's so firm, it doesn't give those holes. Like this was extra firm regular tofu, so it was full of water. And when I pressed it, and like this has a really big spring, I only pressed it for about a half an hour. While it pushes some of the water out, the tofu will bounce back a little bit, so I feel like it pulls in that marinade. Whereas with the super firm, like this was industrially pressed in some manner. Like who knows, it might have a ton weight on it, so it's not coming back from that, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Let's see, do we have any other? And Donna says, that's the tofu press I have, I guess is mine. But but I like the one that has 2 plates with springs that screw down. Any thoughts? So Nichole, what kind do you have?
Oh my gosh, I am embarrassed to say I get out a plate and put the tofu on there and wrap some towels around it and put some really heavy cookbooks on top of it. That I do have a tofu press. It's a bamboo press, and I just honestly, I'm also with you and just like quick and easy. I'm just gonna get this the closest thing out of my cabinet and stick it on a plate, and yeah. Or sometimes I'll use a tea towel to press it and just put it on a plate and something heavy on top.
I love that. And I do stuff like that all the time. You guys, I think I've shown you this. I got this new thing where I can cut exactly the right size of parchment. I got this on Amazon. So I always forget if I have it. Only one side is a blade. So let's see if I had it. Did I make it easy for myself before? Oh, look at me being, nope, there we go. I was like, look at me being all nice to myself. Nope. Same old stuff. So you just pull out however much you're going to do. Isn't that awesome? Or am I just like way more easily amused than the rest of the world?
It's pretty exciting. It's pretty.
I live a very sad and excited life. How about that? And Amy says, I'm with you. I always use parchment paper. Now, there are some cases you would not use parchment paper in an air fryer. If we were putting kale chips on here, or if you have like one of the egg style ones that have the basket that pull out like this, if you have something light and airy, then this can be light and airy, and then that means it can go up into the heating element and catch on fire. So, because last time I did this, someone was like, isn't it going to catch on fire? And I'm like, that tofu's going nowhere, right? So I think that we're okay. Oh, Diana loves kitchen gadgets too. I mean, what's not to love, right? You said you wanted to talk a little bit about like how you came up with this recipe, or was it this particular one? Okay, so it was just coming up with a tofu recipe. The marinade's delicious. I just tasted that. I love citrusy things, and then adding a little bit of that umami balances out. And what I want to say too is if you can't use coconut aminos and you're okay, like it depends on what whole food plant-based know doctor you're hanging out with, right? Dr. Greger is okay with soy miso. So supposedly the salt in that is more okay than some other salt. So if you're following him, that doesn't pass over to chickpea miso. There's so many things to remember. So just know that. But if you can have salt, then go ahead and add in some of that tamari or coconut aminos to get kind of a little more funk in it, is my opinion. So I think it's a really nice balance. And Emily's saying, firm or extra firm. So literally firm, extra firm, or super firm. I think super firm is less recommended of the three, just because it's not going to soak up as much as the marinade. And Jennifer says this PDF is very clear regarding formatting and pictures, and I think she's talking about vegan for everyone, which is what we're doing. And I know I have some more personal questions in there, and I will be coming back to those too. And Amy loves the super firm tofu. And I think that the reason I like it is because you can be lazy. So like I became vegetarian in 1983, people. You could, if there was tofu in the store, that was amazing. But no, you couldn't just get stuff like this. So of course I used, after I went to somebody's garage and bought some tofu from the natural food store in their house, I would wrap it in towels and put paper and stuff. I don't know if you hear, my cat is like, I'm going to scratch. He's like having his own little like disco party on his scratching post over. Okay, he's running away now. I think he's had too much catnip. That's what I think.
He's happy.
Oh, this is great. Someone else says, I think I have stock and parchment paper. You and me both. But there's just something so lovely, and it's better not to have any waste, but this is one I just don't feel bad about, you know, but I'm sure someone out there will tell me why I should feel bad about it. All right. Let's go ahead. I'm just going to take 2 of these pieces out, and I'll let you guys see from overhead, and I may be switching off from you for a second. We'll see. Yeah. Let's do this really quick, and then we can talk some more. Ooh, that's not going to work with my little hand like that. Let's get a knife. And I'm just going to see if I can. This is not the best way to do this. Normally, you could just get the whole thing out of there. So since this has some on the back, and I'm just going to do these end 2 pieces to cook now so we can see it. And I'm going to pour some extra sauce on it. That's another thing the parchment paper gives me a little bit of leeway with. Here, allow me to rearrange this for no good reason, other than I just feel like it would be helpful. And I know we're going to put some more sauce on here, but let's just have some that can cook on top too. Because I love that you used the whole orange, so we've got some nice pulp in here, and that'll be some nice texture as well. And probably a variation one could use is to even grate a little bit of fresh ginger on there if you wanted to go in that direction. You could also maybe put a little chili garlic paste in there. Okay.
I love the idea of ginger.
Right? Let's see. Let me get you back in. Well, I'll do this real quick and then I'll get you back in here. So it says 400 for 30 minutes. So we're going to do 400 and we're going to look at it for about 10 minutes, I think. This is the Breville. So because it's a toaster oven style, it can take a little bit longer to cook than some of the other ones. I have such a mess over here, you guys. I'm so sorry. But let me get you back up here. There you go. There she is. And I love the way you spell your name. Nichole, I haven't seen it exactly like that. So it's Nichole, Nichole?
Yes, and I usually get Michelle. I think people see the so I answer to that. And my last name is Andrea with a D. So all through school, I either got Michelle, you know, it was either Michelle or Andrea, and rarely Nichole because it's so different. I don't know why my parents did that, but thanks.
That's okay. My name's just Kathy. It's not Catherine or Kathleen. It's just Kathy, and so I answer to all these various variations of that.
Right.
So do you have another recipe in the book as well?
Yes, there are. The other recipe is an apple walnut oatmeal bake. So they're like oatmeal and it's like oatmeal and a muffin came together and like made something. And I think it's a texture thing. Again, like depending on what texture you like, you can cook them a little longer and make them more muffin-like, but the oatmeal comes out when baked as instructed. It's a little kind of like illy-gilly on the inside, and for some people, they enjoy that. Other people like a more cake-like inside, so you just cook it a little bit longer, but they make a really delicious snack or breakfast. You can make them the night before or over the weekend and store them away in the refrigerator, and maybe just like pop them in the microwave for a moment or reheat them for a little bit to have like an easy on the go breakfast. You mentioned using the whole orange in the citrus recipe, just like the whole orange in that recipe. These oatmeal bakes are high in fiber. So I really like to maximize fiber in all of my recipes, which is why I went for the whole orange versus just the squeeze of orange in the Sesame Citrus Tofu. And the oatmeal bake with the oatmeal and the apples and the walnuts, there's so much fiber in just like a little bite. And then you're getting omega-3 fatty acids in the walnuts. So they're really a nice, sustainable snack or breakfast that'll keep you energized and full for a longer period of time than some of your processed, but the ultra processed cereals or anything that are like more sugar but they're slightly sweet, so they're still satisfying from a flavor perspective as well. But they're going to leave you feeling very nourished.
There's a lot of sweetness you can get just from actual fruits. Like apple, and like if you guys could taste the marinade through me, you would taste the sweetness that the orange juice brought, or the orange puree brought. If I had been smart, I would have zested that orange before I cut all that off and just take that zest, and if you like put it on a piece of parchment paper on something, stick it in your freezer, and then you could put it in there, and you could put that orange zest in your oatmeal or something else yummy later on. An apple. So we have someone who watches called Apple and said, "You had me at apples." And then Diana is saying, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away." And Apple says, "Apples and oats are high in both soluble and insoluble fiber, a magical mix."
Yes, I love all those comments. I know they're perfect for making your gut extra happy, which can make your body happy and your mind happy. Like, it's just a full spectrum. So yeah, thanks for those comments. The fiber is so important. And luckily, plants have all the fiber. So just adding a wide variety of plant-based foods, you're getting all that diversity of fiber, which makes for a very happy gut.
And it's so good to, like, for me, I try all different kinds of recipes. So one of the reasons I'm going live the next few days is because all the recipes in here aren't oil-free, but it's just really easy to take a vegan or plant-based recipe and make it oil-free if you're in the whole food, plant-based, no oil space, which most of my viewers are. Oh, and that's just it going, "I preheated." Whose air fryer preheats? The Breville. So that's about it. Amy says, "For the apple pecan baked oatmeal bites, what is a good substitute for the almond meal? I'm allergic to almonds, but not other nuts." And that's from Amy, actually.
Oh, and Amy corrected me because I said walnut, but it's pecan. So that's a good question. Almond meal has a little bit more moisture than oat flour, but you could always add extra oat flour to those too, but you might need a little bit less because of the oat flour soaking up more of the moisture. So you don't want them super dry. You want a moist texture. So I would say using 2/3 of the amount of oat flour. And baking's so tricky. It's sometimes the substitutions don't always act as a 1-to-1 with the same result, but I think using 2/3 oat flour and that is called for the amount of almond flour would work in that recipe. But that's a great question for nut-free. And instead of the pecans, you can add some dried fruit. You can add some seeds to it. It could be in the form of hemp seeds or pumpkin seeds. There's some options there. So really, again, making it your own and customizing it to suit your needs and preferences.
I love that. And do you make your own oat flour, or do you usually buy it?
It depends. It depends on what I have on hand, to be honest. But it's so easy to make oat flour from whole oats. So usually I'll get big bags of oats and then just put them in the food processor, and it's so easy to make that in a matter of, seconds.
Right. And so for those of you who don't know, you can even take you don't even have to have a Smancy Blend Tech or Vitamix or any of those. You can just have like my Humble Ninja or something like that. Any blender will take rolled oats and turn it into flour. It's going to be a little more coarse, almost like grits or cream of wheat. But as that gets mixed with the baking ingredients and the liquids, it will break down during cooking, just like oatmeal breaks down. So I always really am super mean to myself if I buy oat flour, because I'm like, I spent how much money to not turn on the blender? And Cheryl used to always be like, let's get cookie mix, let's get brownie mix. I'm like, no, we're paying someone $5 to measure the ingredients. Would you have them come in the house and measure ingredients for us? No, we have all of them. Now, that doesn't mean I won't do it for special occasions or for traveling or something like that. But there's certain things, like, I'll say that, but then we ate at P.F. Chang's today because we were running errands. So we spent $30 on vegetables and brown rice today.
Sometimes it's, it happens. And if it fits with the moment, then you got to go for it. But you get back to your home cooked meals and you feel better about the next meal where you're saving money and you're making your own delicious creations. But it's okay.
And it is. And so, like, what I've always done, so I took the McDougall, Cheryl and I, my wife and I took the 12-day McDougall program in July. And so, like, actually, after 4 days, she got off all but one of her medications for diabetes. And we've both, like, she's lost over 30 pounds. I don't know how much weight she has. I've lost about 25 pounds. So when we're going out, we try to have in mind, if we know we're running errands, 1 or 2 places that we can eat. We do 90%, which means if we go to a bowl place and we get a tablespoon of whatever the dressing is that might have oil, we're living our best life. It's all okay. Yeah. 90% to me, 90 to 95 is what I usually say, makes it completely doable for the next 50 years. It doesn't mean anything is off the table 100% forever. Like, we were already eating vegan, so it's just not that big a deal. And at P.F. Chang's is a great place because you can get the Buddhist feast steamed with the sauce on the side. And so it's this beautiful array of steamed vegetables and steamed brown rice. So no matter, there is tofu in there. So if you had a soy allergy, you could get it without. And if you have a gluten allergy, I believe that is 5-spice tofu, which I think at P.F. Chang's may already have some soy sauce or something in it. So just check for that for sure. Okay.
I love that you have go-to places. I think that's important, just to have a couple of places where you can get the healthiest dish that you can possible, and you can get a sauce or a dressing on the side, and you allow for some leeway with what you're getting might not be exactly what you make for yourself at home, but that's okay. And just knowing your options is so important, and also looking for the most colorful thing on the menu. Like the Buddha's feast, I think you said it was called at P.F. Chang's, and selecting the veggie-centric options at restaurants helps to at least get those colorful plants onto your plate.
It's true. And let me see if I can go back and find. Debbie was asking, how was the conference and the food while traveling? Because we traveled to Sacramento for Chef AJ's Live Your Best Life conference, because she gifted it to us. After our graduation. Awesome. It was so sweet. But there's an Asian restaurant that has a no oil menu. It's all vegan already. It's called like vegan pho. And all the things you could get without oil. So we were able to eat compliant there twice. There was a Tibetan Himalayan restaurant that has beautiful food. Oh my gosh. And if you call 24 hours ahead, they can do no oil. They even did no salt broth for someone.
Wow, that's impressive.
I know, and you get everything they have. So they had like a lentil soup, then there was a plate, there was like a salad with like a berry dressing, and I think it was just pureed strawberries and dates with a little balsamic. It was beautiful. Actually, this is pretty close.
That sounds amazing. Strawberry, balsamic, and dates.
You guys,
sounds
look
like
at
the perfect
this.
Trio.
It's really good. And we could flip it over. The reason you might be like, Well, why did it blacken like that? Because I smeared sauce all over the place like a crazy person. I told you I would regret doing it later. And now's that time. So normally what I would do then is just flip it over. And we could even add a little more sauce. So let me show you overhead really quick, possibly. And I'll bring it over there too. So see how where I added that extra sauce, it has it still, whereas when we flipped it over, it's kind of naked. So that's with the sauce. And as I flip it over, it'll be a little naked. So I can just find the sauce and spoon a little bit on the top. And you don't have to do this, but like for us tonight, we're gonna serve this over just plain steamed rice and some steamed vegetables. So this will make it kind of a little more special just because it'll have this extra coating on it. Also, and I'm bringing you back up now. Okay, also, cooking it a little longer just going to help firm it up a little more. If you hate it when it's firm, we could have eaten it just fine. I'm not cooking it this second time because it's inedible or it would make you sick. I'm just doing it to give a little more of a crispiness all the way around. So I'm probably just going to put it in for about 5 minutes. Anything new in the air fryer? Maybe I am. Trying that left-handed, that was a bad idea. Okay, so what was
Talk about anything in the air fryer.
anything in the air fryer? And don't try to use your non-dominant hand to put that back in. That threw me for a big loop. But usually, let's say you're doing packaged food or you're trying something the first time. If it's a packaged food, I'll do 5 minutes and then look and see, did it do okay? And then I can go more. So once I know, like I know with a tofu slab, 10 minutes is fine. Some air fryers change from anywhere from like 375 to 400. Yours could have 385 and somebody else's top number is 390. Just do the best you can. It's not going to ruin anything. You just might have to cook it a little longer.
I love that tip.
Do you have anything else you'd like to share with us before you get back to your conference? And thank you so much for interrupting your conference to hang out with us.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure. It was wonderful. It's a nice opportunity to get a break too, and watch you cook live has been so much fun. Yeah, no, I just love all of your suggestions and appreciate you making the recipe. And you did mention oil-free, and just before I hopped on here, the conference has some wonderful plant-based vendors, and I was speaking with the tahini company, and it made me think of when you mentioned oil-free tahini and how versatile tahini is. And I think tahini, like if you want to make this dressing a little thicker and maybe even give it a nutty flavor, you mentioned ginger, which I love that idea, or getting some of the orange rind, you can add that on top of this. But I think tahini could add a nice flavor to it as well, like a nutty flavor, and make the dressing a little bit more creamy and thick. But tahini is one of those foods, whole food thickener that can easily replace oil in so many recipes, from baked recipes to sauces and dressings, and is such a versatile ingredient. So when you mentioned oil-free and with the tahini company fresh in mind, it just made me think of like what a wonderful thing tahini is, and it's so packed with nutrition. So it can be also used in this recipe as well.
Well, and I had suggested if someone was whole food plant-based, they could use tahini in place of the sesame oil.
Oh yeah,
And I
great.
know,
So you got it.
and sesame oil is such a beautiful flavor. So if you're able to not be 100%, and okay, so if you're like, what does that mean? So if you're on Dr. Estelstein's program, and the reason you're on it is to not have a heart bypass, don't listen to me. I'm a recipe developer. Do whatever Dr. Estelstein tells you, right? So if you have a major health issue and not doing any oil, even a drop, is helping you, I'm here to support you in that. If you're more on the side of like, well, we have some health issues, but things are getting better and better. And you allow yourself some treaty things if you're doing whole food plant-based, no oil. Obviously, if you're doing whole food plant-based, this recipe is fine, right? So you have to figure out where you are on the spectrum. And so my viewers, I have some viewers that are vegan, some viewers, that are all over the map, but I do feel like most people at least want to know how to make it without oil for an option. Those of you who might be like, well, okay, well, I can't use any sodium. So again, we talked about if you could use miso, use it. But if not, I would probably then add in some mushroom powder, garlic powder. If you could get some black fermented garlic to give it that kind of funkiness, those would all be good things. And my do not disturb just went off. There we go. Let's do that one on. The one thing I do for a plain salt substitute, because we've got Mrs. Dash and we have like a variety of salt-free Creole blend, salt food, seafood blend, but like if I'm making this, I don't want to put those on here, right? Because that's going to clash. So I make a mixture with 1 tablespoon ground garlic powder, 1 tablespoon ground onion powder, and 1 teaspoon ground celery seed. You mix it all together and you use it as you would salt. It hits those spots on your tongue, so it gives you a little bit of that stimulation without interfering with any of the other flavors. Do you have a salt substitute you use, Nichole?
I usually go for the umami. As you mentioned, the mushroom powder, I think adds such a nice flavor, but I love your suggestion with the celery seed. Yeah, that's a wonderful suggestion that I'm now going to try. So thank you for offering that.
And it just has some sodium in it. So just remember, So when we're saying something like whole food, plant-based, and no oil, look at that. Does not look good. I know you want it. And it's okay. I'll let you guys see overhead too. It's okay that some of the sauce blackened, because see, when I take this up, it'll be fine. And to me, having the sauce baked on a little more just makes it look a little bit more fancy, right?
And super treaty.
Yeah.
And super treaty. Cheryl, you can come. Cheryl's like going, when do I get this? She's hiding around the corner. But thank you so much for letting me make your recipe and letting me kind of futz with it a little bit. Because since we hadn't, I was feeling kind of bad because we haven't met. And so people who don't know me might think that I'm being all like, oh, let me fix your recipe. But no. I just give all the options to all the people on my recipes. Like, I think I put all the options down, and then I still get more people asking me things for that, right? And I'm like, I never thought about that, but yes, here are the 17 things you can use, right? So thank you for being so understanding and kind, and I'm so glad that I got to meet you and hang out with you today. And
oh my gosh, thank you.
Vicky's saying, are we going to access the recipe for this tofu dish? So if you'd read the notes, so I'm not putting the recipe down. The recipe is in Vegan for Everyone, the ebook, which is $9.99, which is on sale through Monday. Now, if Deborah has it on her site or not, I don't know. If you want to contact her, there's lots of information down there. But for this YouTube, I am not providing that recipe because it's not mine. And but here's the thing, this video is staying up. So honestly, you can watch the video again, and there you go. You can have it. But no, I'm not gonna write the recipe out completely for this or the other 3 recipes that I'm doing for this book, okay? All right, guys, let's see. Lydia says it looks good. I'm looking forward to trying the recipe. Me too. Actually, I guess I should eat a bite. You want to eat a bite?
I bet it's.
Okay. I think this is cooled off. And ooh, let's show a picture of this though too. Look. And okay, can you guys kind of see? It's got nice texture to it from from being baked, right? So that's all it was, is it being baked. So you need to, so there you go.
Nice.
There's always the hand trick. It'll be like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Come here. You want to? I'm gonna make her come in. Oh, come on, go on. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Ooh, I love the citrusy.
Oh, it's
So
really
good.
good.
So good. That's gonna be so good tonight.
So also
I'm so
that you wouldn't expect, but the well, okay, if you were super thoughtful, which I was not about this, you would think, but because the orange juice has or the orange pulp has sugars, they've caramelized at this heat, and it's delightful. I noticed you, because you're using 400 degrees to bake it, which will also do the same caramelization if you do not have an air fryer, because you don't have to. You can do all the things just in your stove. You just take a little longer. Oh, and Urban Pharmacy is here saying hello. Well, thank you so much, Nichole. Do you have any parting words?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you again, Kathy, for making the recipe. I love watching the two of you taste test. It's like warming my heart, and I really appreciate all of your, I know your viewers appreciate all of your substitutions and you know, all of your suggestions on how to customize the recipe to meet their nutritional needs or taste preferences. And I appreciate it also. I love to see what you do in your own kitchen and how you make the recipe your own. So yeah, I learned from you, and I just appreciate you. So thanks for inviting me on today, and thanks to everybody for tuning in.
Oh, that was like a big warm hug, and I appreciate that. And the Urban Pharmacy says, hi, Nichole, haven't seen you since Food Revolution certification. So.
Oh, hi, so good to see you.
And that's
Yay.
Stacy and Apple saying hi to Stacy. Well, I'm going to let you get back to the conference that I'm sure you paid good money to be there. So thank you for taking time out, and I will see you guys real soon. I'm going to stay on and tell everybody again how to buy the book and stuff. But again, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Kathy, so much. Have a great day.
All right. So wasn't that cool? I can see your arm. So now we have the full screen. She's like, wait, what's going on? And actually, if you want to put that on me. So if you're on Instagram, we'll see what happens. Oh, yay. Nichole was awesome. So she's at a conference and she came out just to hang out with us, which is super sweet. And this tofu is like fire. This is really, really, really good. And so if you're on Instagram, or you go to my Instagram, which is Kathy Hester Cooks, you can get the link to get Vegan for Everyone. And I don't know why I want to say everyone is vegan, but probably everyone here is. And what you'll get is like over 40 recipes. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of things that's really good. There's some burgers. There's so many things. So my recipes, I have my DIY cheese powder, so you can make it ahead of time and then make a cheese sauce, mac and cheese, whenever you want. And then I have my mocha ninja creamy recipe in there. So my recipes already are no oil, but for the next few days, every day you're going to get another oil-free variation from there. And if you are whole food, plant-based, no oil, you get the book and you have some questions, you can always email me at kathyhester@gmail.com. Or if you want to come to any of the lives, I'm going to have the book out so I can look up those recipes and give you some ideas and suggestions. Okay, so I think if no one else has any questions, so wherever you're watching, like if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you'll see it like one side to the other or up and down. And on YouTube, you have to click see more, and that's when you can get to all the links and all of Nichole's information, because you totally want to follow her on Instagram, YouTube, go and see her recipes and all of that, okay? And I'm going to go have some dinner and then decide what I'm going to make tomorrow. If you have some suggestions that you want to see, if you already have Vegan for Everyone, go ahead and email me at kathyhester@gmail.com with a recipe you'd like to see me make, and it just might happen. Okay, have a magical rest of your evening and do at least one really nice thing for yourself. Okay, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.